coming to the next part of the webinar, which we have flow control statements. Now they are called as control statements or flow control statements because they use or they help us to control flow of our program. So how do we control flow of our program? We can decide a flow of our program or can control flow of our program by using three types of statements: conditional statements, looping statements, and jump statements. In conditional statements, we again classify them as if else, switch. In looping statement, we classify them as for loop, while loop, and do while loop. In jump statements, we classify them as break, continue, and go to. Let's quickly concentrate on conditional statements. Now, to understand this, we have these many topics to be discussed in conditional statements. A simple if statement. Now, what do we or why do we need these conditional statements? As the name suggests, why they are called as conditional statements? Because by depending on some condition, they will decide which particular code is to be executed or not. Hence, we say flow of the program is controlled by using these statements. Control flow statements बोलते हैं ना इनको. So by using this condition, जो ये bracket में specify होगा, your program will decide whether to execute this code or not. A very simple example I'm considering here. Let's take an user's age from user and then decide whether user is eligible for voting or not. So a simple if condition I've written using a relational operator here, age greater than equal to 18. If this condition is true, then that user is eligible for voting. But अगर नहीं है उसका age eligible for voting, तो उसको क्या करना पड़ेगा? इस बारे में तो मैंने कहीं पर लिखा नहीं है इस प्रोग्राम में. And that is where the else construct comes into picture. तो जो part of the code if execute कर पाता है, if कभी code execute कर पाता है जब कोई condition true है तभी, पर जब if का condition false हो जाएगा तो प्रोग्राम को क्या करना है ये बताने के लिए आ जाता है else. तो सिंपल सिंटैक्स क्या है इसका? if के ब्रैकेट में कंडीशन लिखोगे, if this condition is true, तो ये वाला कोड पूरा एग्जीक्यूट होगा, ये पूरा कोड यहाँ पे जो लिखा होगा वो एग्जीक्यूट होगा. दैट कुड बी एनीथिंग. एंड एल्स, इफ यू else part will also have the code which will be executed in case this condition becomes false. So that is the flow of your if else program. Now, what happens about this, or why do we need to write this opening and closing curly braces here? So when we have just a single statement after if or else, even if you do not provide these curly brackets, it is completely fine, because by default one single statement belongs to if or else or for or while. So all these constructs which we use, उनके पास अगर सिर्फ single statement है execute करने के लिए तो bracket नहीं लिखोगे तो भी चलेगा, but have a habit of putting these brackets because they provide a nice indentation to your program. So if there are multiple statements inside if block, you will have to write curly braces. That's compulsory. नहीं तो क्या हो जाएगा, वो दो तीन लाइन में से पहला लाइन सिर्फ if को belong करेगा, बाकी का छूट जाएगा. Now एक very basic understanding होता है जो मैं शायद पहले कवर करना भूल गई. कौन से लाइन में सेमीकोलन लिखना है, कौन से लाइन में सेमीकोलन नहीं लिखना है. Always remember one thing. मैं एक simple logic बताती हूँ जो मैंने जब प्रोग्रामिंग सीखा था तब से फॉलो किया है. I did not find this any of the textbooks or something. Wherever you have, let me quickly go back to the program which I had discussed earlier. A very simple program which I had discussed earlier. Yeah. So if you just closely observe, I have a semicolon here on this line, I have a semicolon on here on this line, but I do not have any semicolon on this line and this line. Semicolon always gives you termination of that particular statement. You cannot terminate this statement here. इसका scope यहाँ terminate होके चलेगा नहीं. stdio.h को end तक रहना ही है प्रोग्राम में. कंपाइलर को पता होना चाहिए कौन सा फंक्शन उस फाइल से आया है. This is again not terminated. इसको terminate कभी नहीं करना है फंक्शन डेफिनेशन को. क्यों? इसका opening and closing bracket will decide its block of code. तो उसका starting और ending ये brackets भी करते हैं, तो उसको भी terminate नहीं करना. जो भी individual statements है उनको terminate करो, चलेगा. Okay? इसलिए मैंने अभी बताया if else में और else के statement, क्योंकि most of first year students do these mistakes in their practical sessions or in their theory paper also. They generally write if or else के बाद semicolon. Please do not make this error, make this mistake. For के बारे बाद में भी लिखते हैं, but for के बाद में semicolon लिखना syntactical error नहीं है. I'll tell about that also. Anyway, so always remember. और एक और लॉजिक बताती हूँ सिंपली याद रखने के लिए. जब नेक्स्ट लाइन प्रीवियस पे डिपेंडेंट हो, जब नेक्स्ट लाइन सपोज ये लाइन प्रीवियस पे डिपेंडेंट हो, तो प्रीवियस पे सेमीकोलन कभी मत लिखो. ये सिंपल लॉजिक मैंने आज तक फॉलो किया है. ओके, सो इफ आई जस्ट टेल यू दिस रूल दैट नेक्स्ट लाइन अगर प्रीवियस वाले पे डिपेंडेंट हो तो प्रीवियस पे कभी भी सेमीकोलन मत लिखो. That I can very well explain you here. Okay. नेक्स्ट, ये वाला लाइन है, प्रीवियस पे डिपेंडेंट है, तो इस पे कभी भी सेमीकोलन नहीं लिखना है. बट ये किसी पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं है, ये इंडिविजुअल स्टेटमेंट है, तो इसके आगे सेमीकोलन लिखोगे चलेगा. ओपनिंग क्लोजिंग ब्रैकेट्स के आगे पीछे सेमीकोलन नहीं लिखना है, उनको टर्मिनेट नहीं करना है. ठीक है. देन लेट्स क्विकली सी अ वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल ऑफ एल्स ब्लॉक आल्सो, इफ एल्स कंस्ट्रक्ट हियर. सेम एग्जांपल, बट जब मैंने एल्स पार्ट नहीं लिखा था तो फ्लो ऑफ द प्रोग्राम कुछ और था. अब जब मैंने एल्स कंस्ट्रक्ट लिखा है तो फ्लो ऑफ द प्रोग्राम कुछ और है. सो हियर व्हाट वी हैव इज you are eligible for voting if your age is greater than or equal to 18. अगर वो condition false हो गया, then whatever is displayed in else part will be displayed as an output. Whatever is written in else part will be displayed as an output in your program. This is a simple example of if else. And one more example, which is a very typical example, where we have to find even or odd number. We have to accept a number from user. If that number is even, print it is an even number, or if it is an odd number, print if it is an odd number. How do we check that? Using a modulus operator. If that number is completely divisible by 2, we say it is even number. How do we check if the number is completely divisible by 2? अगर वो divisible by 2 है, then this part of the expression will give you some value. Suppose my input is 5. 5 mod 2 is supposed to give me 1. Is 1 equal to 0? नहीं, तो false है, इधर जाएगा. 5 is an odd number. If you give an even number as an input, 6, ये इधर compare करेगा. 6 mod 2. 6 mod 2 will give you 2 3 6, but remainder क्या है उस ऑपरेशन का? 0. mod operator will always give you remainder of the expression. So 0 is equal to 0. Yes, it is an even number. So 6 is an even number करके print होगा. Now, when to use single equal to, when to use double equal to. Single equal to sign, assignment operator, variables को value assign करने के लिए काम होता है. For example, a is equal to 5, b is equal to 10. और एक्सप्रेशंस को, एक एक्सप्रेशन को दूसरे किसी एक्सप्रेशन को असाइन करने के लिए. फॉर एग्जांपल सी इज इक्वल टू प्लस बी, ये सिंगल इक्वल नहीं होंगे. डबल इक्वल टू हमेशा कंडीशनल स्टेटमेंट्स में यूज होता है. इक्वल टू इज वन ऑफ द रिलेशनल ऑपरेटर्स, सो वी यूज देम इन कंडीशनल expressions only in if else statement or in while, or wherever we have to write conditions we will go for equal to. Okay, so this is again your if else syntax. Now then we come to a variation of if else syntax. There are two variations basically, if else ladder and if nested if else syntax. If else ladder, now why this is called as a ladder? It is nothing but a ladder like structure. Okay, if you observe this syntax का indentation, it is a ladder like structure. इसको समझने के लिए we will quickly go through an example. Basically ये क्या है? It is nothing but one if else followed by another if else. If you see this if else is followed by another set of if else. Again, this if else is followed by another set of if else. So to understand this better, I can quickly go through one program. I hope the screen is visible. If it is not, Smriti, can you please let me know? Okay, I hope it is readable too. This is a simple example of if else ladder where we are taking 3 numbers from user, and a very typical program of if else ladder where we have to take largest of 3 numbers, where we have to calculate largest of 3 numbers. So how do we compare? We have to compare. See, if 10, 20, 30 we are comparing, 30 has to be the largest of all the 3. How do we get to know that? 30 has to be greater than 10 as well as 20. तो एक नंबर को बाकी दोनों के साथ कंपेयर करो. Okay, I'm taking a data type double here because I was trying with double data type or float data type. So that is why you will see %lf here. You can simply go for integer values also, not a problem. Now, I have to compare one number with remaining 2. So I'm comparing n1 with remaining 2 numbers which are n2 and n3. So n1 greater than equal to n2 अगर true है, and n1 greater than equal to n3, both of them are true. So this is where I'm using logical AND. This will also give me true. This will also give me true. True and true. 12th में हमने truth tables पढ़ा है. True and true will give you true value. So this entire expression gives me true. Hence, if condition is evaluated as true, और ये line print होगा. Okay. So suppose if I take an example, 30, 20, 10. So 30 greater than 20, 30 greater than 10. That means 30 is the largest number right now. अगर first number largest नहीं है, then check for second number. Then if else and followed by another if else. So there we will check for second number now. If n2 is greater than n1 as well as n3, check n2 also with remaining two numbers, and if it is, then it is the largest number. Otherwise, अगर n1 भी नहीं है, n2 भी नहीं है, then n3 is the largest number. Here you can have one more if else, check the equality of the numbers. That is also fine, but वो बहुत complicated हो जाता in the beginning itself, इसलिए मैंने वो condition consider नहीं किया. So if we now I'm using Genie editor here, which is mostly used in our college systems also. That is why you can execute C and Java, both the programs in Genie editor. But while using C programs, always make sure you click on compile, build, and execute. Okay, so that is how it gives you the output. Let's say I'm using double, so I'll have to give numbers in double format. So this is n1, this is n2, and this is n3. All the three numbers will be stored in those three respective variables, and then largest number is to be calculated as 44.56. Now what is this? I had already given a number as 0.564 and so on, such a big number, but it is rounding of the value to only two decimal digits after a decimal point. What happens and how do we do that? In print statement, if you use %.2 LF or %.2 D, %.2 F, whatever it is, so it is only supposed to give you two digits after a decimal point. That is how you can format your output or round off your output. I hope this example is clear to you all. So we can quickly go for the next syntax. Okay. The next syntax is nothing but if else, nested if else statement. Nested का मतलब ही होता है one if statement inside another if else statement. So nested मतलब a structure within another structure. This particular concept or construct inside another construct. So here we have a condition which is, let's say, true, condition 1, and this is condition 2. If condition 1 is also true, condition 2 is also true, then these statements will get executed. If condition 1 is false, it will not even enter this block, it will straight away go to else. अगर इसके अंदर एक और else मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा होता, inner if else, तो ये condition true होता और ये false होता, तो इसके बाद जो else लिखा होता उसके पास कंट्रोल चला जाता. I hope you are understanding what I'm saying. मैंने क्या बोला, अगर ये true है और ये false है, तो immediately इसके बाद जो else मैंने इधर लिखा होता वहां पे कंट्रोल ट्रांसफर हो जाता. But right now if this particular thing is false, directly it will be transferred to else part of the code, else block of the code. To understand that, we have one more example here. The same example of largest of three numbers can now be performed using nested if else. एक सेम सिंपल एग्जांपल हम लोग दोनों कंस्ट्रक्ट में चेक कर सकते हैं. अब मैंने जब लैडर में लिखा था तब मैंने दो स्टेप्स को कंबाइन किया था यूजिंग लॉजिकल एंड ऑपरेटर. एंड और में डिफरेंस है. और मतलब या तो ये ट्रू और या तो ये, और मतलब दोनों में से एक ट्रू है तो भी चलेगा. एंड मतलब दोनों ट्रू है तो ही वो आगे जाएगा. Same here, but here I am dividing those two conditions. If n1 is greater than n2, then only check for n1 is greater than n3 or not. And then if both of them are true, print n1 as the largest number, else print n3 as the largest number. Now, how do we know which number is to be printed if this condition is false? Always, whenever you're writing program, take examples and build a logic and then only write a program. मुझे ये डायरेक्टली नहीं समझेगा कि मुझे यहाँ पे n3 प्रिंट करना है. टेक एन एग्जांपल, लेट्स से 10, 20 एंड 30. सो 10 ग्रेटर देन इक्वल टू 20 नहीं, तो ये स्ट्रेट अवे पूरा इग्नोर हो जाएगा. लेट्स अज्यूम 10, 5 एंड 20. ओके, 10, 5 and 20. This is, let's say, I'll just quickly write it here. First number is 10, second number is 5, and third number is 20. Now my n1 is greater than n2, that I know, because 10 is greater than 5. But n1 is not greater than n3. So check, 10 अगर n3 से greater नहीं हुआ तो मुझे इसके else part में n2 print नहीं करना है. ये जिसका comparison हो रहा है उसको print करना है. तो मतलब ये जब कंडीशन आप चेक करोगे ये इंडिविजुअली उसका प्रिंटफ स्टेटमेंट है. ये ट्रू है मतलब n1 n2 से तो ग्रेटर है ही. ये भी ट्रू है तो n1 इन दोनों से ग्रेटर है, ये प्रूव हो जाएगा. बट अगर नहीं है तो ये प्रूव होगा कि n3 इन दोनों में ग्रेटर है, इसीलिए n3 प्रिंट किया यहाँ पे. अंडरस्टैंड दिस? ओके. देन द रिमेनिंग ब्लॉक एल्स. इफ दिस इज फॉल्स, नाउ दिस विल स्टे फॉल्स व्हेन, लेट्स टेक अ डिफरेंट एग्जांपल, 10, 50 and 20. Okay, remember these three numbers now. 10, 50 and 20. So this is my N1, N2 and N3. Now we have 50 greater than 30. Okay, sorry, 50 greater than 20. We are checking. If this is greater, N2 is larger. Otherwise, we have to print N3 is larger. I think, okay, I'm so sorry. It was the same checking. If it is 10 greater than equal to 50, which is false, if this is false, it will go to this bracket and then it will check for remaining two numbers, 50 greater than 200. So if 50 is not greater than 200, then again it is a comparison between these two blocks. And again, if N2 is greater than N3, क्योंकि पहले वो greater than N1 था, इसीलिए ये ब्लॉक में ट्रांसफर हुआ है, तो N2 ही सबसे ग्रेटेस्ट होगा. एंड इन दिस सिचुएशन N2 greater than equal to N3 अगर कंपेयर करोगे, तो अगर N2 ग्रेटर नहीं है तो ओनली पॉसिबिलिटी रिमेन्स इज N3. तो दोनों केस में जो सेकेंड एल्स का स्टेटमेंट है वो N3 के लिए ही है, क्योंकि जो तुम्हारा इनर इफ का कंडीशन है वो N3 के साथ ही कंपेयर हो रहा है दोनों नंबर्स के लिए. तो सेकेंड वाला N3 के लिए ही आएगा. रिमेंबर दिस. So how to write this? Always take an example, build your logic, and then write a program. Okay, this will help you to write programs in C or in any other programming languages very well. Then talking about the next syntax is switch statement. This is the last conditional statement. Switch करता है, it switches between the various parts of the program. Since इसका नाम switch है, मतलब it switches between multiple parts of the program. वो multiple parts तुम provide कैसे करोगे? As a different case. So we have case 1, case 2, case 3 and multiple cases in our program. A very typical example of this is nothing but a calculator program. Okay, we'll talk about it. But then again before that, switch के bracket में जो expression है, जो variable होता है, जिसका value हम match करते हैं case के value के साथ. It could be either integer or character only. It cannot be float or any other type of value. So here right now it is either integer or character. तो यहाँ पे जो value आएगा उसका value case के value के साथ match होगा and that respective case में जो code होगा वो execute होगा. Suppose if I pass value 1 here, it will match with value 1 here and then it will execute this part of the code. Now there is one question. Is writing break compulsory in switch case? No, it is an optional part. Why it is an optional part? Even if I do not write break, मेरा switch case execute हो जाएगा. But problem ये होगा, जब मैंने one value provide किया था, सिर्फ case 1 execute हो रहा था. Because of this break, control is transferred outside switch. I'm so sorry. Control is transferred outside switch here. But if I do not write break, control will continue executing switch case. मतलब जहां तक तुमने ब्रेक नहीं लिखा है जो केसेस में, वो सारे केसेस वन बाय वन एग्जीक्यूट होते जाएंगे. सो it is important to write break in case, but not it is compulsory. It is not compulsory to write break. In case if you need values continuous, मतलब case 1, case 2, case 3 भी print करना है, then you can go for without writing break also. So writing break is optional. It is not compulsory. Remember. Talking about default case is nothing but whenever any of these cases are not executed, default will execute its code. मतलब अगर मैंने case 5 दिया है या case 0 दिया है जो यहाँ पे exist ही नहीं करता, तो default case में जो code लिखा है वो print हो जाएगा. So this is a very simple example of a switch case where we take a number from user. Okay, if user enters 10, it matches with value 10 here and number is equal to 10 is printed. And then if user enters 50, the 50 number is compared with case 50, it matches here, accordingly 50 print हो जाएगा. और either if it is 100, other than that अगर मैं कुछ enter करूँ तो वो नहीं accept करेगा. Suppose if I enter 100, तो number is equal to 100, case 100 वाला case execute होगा. If I now enter some random number which is not even present in switch case, so जो default में line लिखा है number is not equal to 10, 50 or 100 वो print होगा. So which is mentioned in default. So default will always have a code which is supposed to be executed if any of the above cases are not executed.